It started on a Tuesday. I know, not exactly the spookiest day of the week, but that's when it began. I live alone in a pretty quiet suburban neighborhood. The kind of place where the most exciting thing to happen is a neighbor getting a new lawn gnome. For peace of mind, I'd recently installed a couple of security cameras, one by the front door and one covering the back patio and garden. Mostly, I just used them to see if a package had been delivered or to watch the local cats chase squirrels. That Tuesday evening, I was working late from home, hunched over my laptop at the kitchen island, which looks out into my living room. I'd been so focused on a spreadsheet that I'd completely lost track of time. It was past midnight when I finally leaned back, stretching my arms over my head with a groan. That's when I felt it, a cold spot. You know that feeling when you walk into a basement, that sudden drop in temperature. I shivered, rubbing my arms. I glanced at the thermostat, was set to a cozy 72 degrees. It made no sense. I dismissed it as being overtired, my brain playing tricks on me. I packed up my work, turned off the lights, and headed to bed, completely forgetting about the weird chill. The next day, Wednesday, things got a little stranger. I was making coffee when I noticed something out of place. A small, framed photo on the mantelpiece in the living room was slightly askew. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I walked over and straightened it. It was a picture of me and my sister from a few years ago. As I adjusted it, I felt that same icy coldness again, this time near the fireplace. It lingered for a moment and then vanished. My heart did a little flutter kick in my chest. Okay, this was weird. 2 days in a row. Still, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a draft from the chimney, even though the flue was closed. But the feeling of being watched started to creep in. I'd spin around, expecting to see someone, but there was never anything there. By Thursday, I was on edge. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside my window sent a jolt of anxiety through me. I found myself triple-checking the locks on the doors and windows before I went to bed. I even started leaving a light on in the hallway. I felt silly, like a kid scared of the dark, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. That night, I was woken up by a sound. It was a soft, rhythmic tapping, tap, tap, tap. It sounded like it was coming from the living room. My blood ran cold. I lay perfectly still in my bed, straining my ears, my heart pounding against my ribs like a drum. I told myself it was just the house settling, or a branch tapping against the window. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. The sound was too deliberate, too rhythmic. I barely slept a wink for the rest of the night, jumping at every little noise. The next morning, Friday, I was exhausted and jumpy. I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I needed some kind of proof that I wasn't just losing my mind. That's when I remembered the security cameras. My living room wasn't covered, but the front door camera had a wide-angle lens that caught a small sliver of the living room window. And the camera in my kitchen, where this all started, it covered the whole kitchen and a good portion of the living room behind it. My hands were trembling as I opened the security app on my phone. I scrolled to around midnight, to the exact moment I was finishing up my work at the kitchen island. I watched the grainy footage of myself stretching, my back to the camera. The kitchen was empty, the living room behind me dark and still. Everything looked completely normal. I sighed, a wave of relief mixed with disappointment washing over me. Maybe I was just imagining things. I was about to close the app, but then I decided to watch it one more time, just to be sure. I zoomed in as much as I could on the dark space of the living room directly behind my chair. My heart stopped. At first, it was almost imperceptible, like a smudge on the lens or a trick of the shadow. But as my eyes adjusted, I could make it out. A shape, a tall, slender figure, standing perfectly still in the darkness of my living room, right behind where I was sitting. It was just a silhouette, devoid of any features, but it was unmistakably human-shaped. It wasn't moving. It was just standing there, watching me. I felt the air leave my lungs. I couldn't breathe. This thing had been in my house. It had been feet away from me, and I had no idea. My mind raced. Who was it? How did they get in? I frantically scrubbed through the footage from the rest of the night. The figure remained there, motionless, for almost an hour. It didn't walk away, it didn't fade. It was there in one frame, and in the next, it had vanished into thin air. I dropped my phone on the counter, a strangled cry escaping my lips. Shaking, I checked the footage from Wednesday and Thursday. I found it again. On Wednesday, when I straightened the photo, the silhouette was standing right by the fireplace, in the exact spot where I felt the cold. On Thursday night, when I heard the tapping, the footage was too dark to see clearly, but the audio picked it up. A soft, rhythmic tapping. A faint, whispery voice, right after the tapping stopped. It was too distorted to make out the words, but it was a voice. I felt like I was going to be sick. This wasn't a draft or an overactive imagination. This was real. There was something in my house with me. I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't human. Not in the normal sense. Anyway, how could something just appear and disappear? I didn't know what to do. Call the police? What would I say? That there's a ghost in my security footage? They'd think I was crazy. I felt completely and utterly alone. That night, I couldn't stay in the house. I packed a bag and drove to my sister's place, my hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the steering wheel. I didn't tell her why. I just said I needed to get away for a bit. I've been here for 2 days now. I haven't been back to my house. I'm too scared. I keep checking the live feed from my cameras, my stomach in knots every time I open the app. So far, I haven't seen the figure again, but the cold spots are still there. I can see the temperature display on my smart thermostat drop randomly in different rooms, even when no one is there. Sometimes, I see the photo on the mantelpiece is crooked again. I don't know what to do. I don't know what this thing is, or what it wants. All I know is that it was standing right behind me. It was watching me, and the worst part, I have this horrible, sinking feeling that it's waiting for me to come back. The camera is my only window into that house now, and every time I look, I'm terrified of what I might see next. I think I have to sell the house. I don't think I can ever go back there again. Who knows if it will even let me go. Thank you for listening to my story. Please, always be aware of your surroundings. You never know who, or what, might be standing right behind you. Be safe, and I'll see you in the next one.